before some more college football games kick off in a little over 2 hours, it is currently 4:16 Eastern time at the time of this recording. Before college football starts tonight, I do want to release a video discussing some underrated games. Some games where none of the teams are ranked. Some of these games were requested by viewers in a previous video, and others I just wanted to throw in there because I found them interesting. I believe Kansas State versus Stanford and Maryland and West Virginia were requested. Maybe Boise State, UCF, something along those lines. But if you want to check my week 1 prediction video about like bigger teams, top 25 matchups, I'll link that video that I released earlier this week down in the description. So let's just get right into it. And the first game right off the bat that I want to talk about, a Big Ten team, in fact, is Michigan State and Northwestern. This game, now, I get it. These two teams they're not going to be good this year. Michigan State's ceiling is like going 7-5 or 6-6 is where I have their ceiling. Northwestern's with the West Division, you never know. I think 8-9 regular season wins, probably closer to 8 is their ceiling. That's just because the West can be chaotic in some years. It's not like the East where Ohio State is known to be the dominant power. Northwestern is favored, rounded up 60-40 in this game according to ESPN's Football Power Index, and Northwestern is favored by 3 points. I think the Wildcats win here just because I think they're better coached, even though Michigan State does have the better talent. This game will be close. I would expect Northwestern, I'd actually say Northwestern would win by 3 points. Exactly 3 points. This is totally the type of game, the way the two coaches play it out. They seem to be they're definitely more defensive-minded. This game will come down to the last minute. I think Northwestern wins. And I do think Michigan State goes 4-8. 5-7. They're not going to go bowling, but they are on the uptrend, and in 2022 they look to be a 7-8 win football team. Northwestern will also have a down year with how much production and talent they lost, but they'll look to bounce back in 2022. This game is just a preview how these two teams will deal with another down year for MSU and a down year for Northwestern. That starts at 9 p.m. Eastern Time Friday. Western Michigan and Michigan, on the other hand, that starts Saturday at noon. In this game, I'm previewing it because it's a Michigan game and because I just learned from a show by Mark Rogers that Western Michigan apparently led the nation in explosive plays last year. I knew they could move the ball offensively. They, on average, I think scored around 40 points a game. Small selection size playing against MAC schools, but the MAC had Ball State and Buffalo last year, who are two very competent and above average teams. I think both finished ranked as well, which I think is the first for the MAC conference. And Western Michigan returns their experienced quarterback, who had a really good QB rating last year, threw for over 1,000 yards, and Michigan just has questions all over the board. I mean, I think Michigan dominates this game and wins by more than 30 points. They more than cover the 17-point spread. They have an 85% chance to win, according to ESPN's FPI. But who knows? Michigan, my school, my favorite team, has lost to App State before. This could very well happen here. This game will also be a chance for the whole world to see how Michigan does, because Michigan, I feel like, is going to be a team that people are going to want to watch, either because they want them to suffer, or because they want to see what they're going to do and what is to be Harbaugh's most try-hard and probably last season with this team. Up next, I do have Maryland and West Virginia. I'm kind of going conference by conference here. Maryland and West Virginia, this was requested, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, this was requested by a viewer of mine. West Virginia is favored by 3, and I think Maryland just wins by double digits here. It's at home. Maryland had promised last year Dan Enos as a coordinator with Talia Tagovailoa and Raheem Jarrett too. They lost Jake Funk to the draft, who was a really good running back. But Raheem Jarrett and Talia Tagovailoa, that's a deadly wide receiver quarterback duo. And Dan Enos coached Tua Tagovailoa to be a great quarterback. I think he'll do the same with Talia. Mike Locksley is not the greatest head coach. I think he might be, for now, I would rank him probably the worst head coach in his division. But Maryland here, I'd say, out of the traditional bottom feeder teams in the Big Ten, Rutgers, Michigan State, and Indiana, I think that's a pretty accurate thing to say. Indiana's obviously improving. Michigan State and Rutgers, I say, have a lot more work to do because Maryland's at least had talent. Maryland here, out of those, out of at least Michigan State and Rutgers, has the best chance, I think, to finish with a bowl appearance. According to ESPN's FPI, the Mountaineers have a 51.3% chance to win. It is a very close game, and from what I have found in these games that are close by FPI standards, one team often will shock the other in a somewhat dominating win, aka Ohio State and Clemson last year. So far, Maryland wins and Michigan wins, so that's good for the Big Ten and what I think are underrated games. Michigan State Northwestern is obviously a conference game. That's all for the Big Ten when it comes to underrated games. So now I'm going to move on to the Pac-12, who I think has some, and that's going to start off with Kansas State and Stanford. And this is also requested by a viewer. He has a Jar Jar Binks profile, which I find to be pretty funny. But you said to specifically talk about Kansas State, and I'll give you my opinion on Kansas State here. Chris Kleeman is 2-0 against Lincoln Riley, which, if that doesn't tell you something about the man, I'm shocked that you don't even think anything about him if you knew that fact. Kansas State is a team on the rise. I think they're going to finish 8-4 or 9-3. They'll finish ranked. Depending on their bowl matchup, I'd say they will have a pretty good time in the postseason. I think they'll likely win their bowl game. Well coached, have their quarterback returning, who pretty experienced guy. He was injured last year, and that kind of derailed their whole season. They return most of their offense. Not the greatest defensive returning production, though. And Stanford is just a mess. Their record last year was a mirage. They had one of the worst strengths of schedules and strength of record in the country last year. Kansas State is favored by 3, but I think they will win by a good amount more than 3. I think they will win by double digits here. Kansas State is one of the teams that just barely missed my top 25, and depending on how they win this game, and if other teams in my top 25 lose, Kansas State could jump right in. Next up, we do have a game that is interesting. It's actually going on tonight at the time when this video is going to be posted. It's a game that I think one side will bludgeon the other, and by bludgeon I mean it'll be like a group of 5. It'll be like a group of 5 school just getting destroyed by a Power 5 school. UCF and Boise State. UCF has a 76.1% chance to win. Completely understand why. Gus Malzahn raided the transfer portal. Way better coach than whatever Boise State has. It's Andy Avalos, I believe, and I think he coached at Oregon, I believe, as their defensive coordinator. Correct me if I'm wrong there. UCF is they're a beast this year. They're only going to have one regular season loss, and my predictions, it's going to be to Cincinnati. UCF was favored by 6 just a few minutes ago. That's jumped up to 6.5, and I think the fact that the bounce house is literally going to be rocking, it'll be hard for Boise State to win this game. UCF, it's going to kick off a great season. They're ranked in my top 25, but I'm showcasing them as an unranked team because we're going by the polls when it comes to matchups. My top 25 doesn't mean a whole lot too much in the grand scheme of things, and even if I was somehow a AP poll writer or something, wouldn't even matter that much. It's just my personal opinion. We're going by ESPN and the AP poll rankings here. 3 more games to cover. Arizona versus BYU being one of them. And that may shock you, and I'm only saying this because BYU is a team that I lost a lot from last year, and somehow I look at them and look how Kalani Sitake did this, like the team last year in 2020, and I think that they're actually going to be a team that will be borderline top 25. They would be in my received votes category as well. But Arizona, because of how much BYU lost, Arizona is still in contention to win here, which would kick off. It would be great for Jed Fish and Don Brown to win here. Don Brown has praised this Arizona defense. Arizona doesn't have much going for him, as Kevin Sumlin, in my opinion, left the cupboard pretty empty, was not a good coach. I think Jed Fish will build Arizona back up eventually. BYU is favored to win by 80.9%, according to the FPI, which for how much they lost is quite astonishing. For now, I have BYU going actually like a 9-10 win team, which is insane, probably a little juvenile. I don't know the greatest depths about that team. Same with Arizona. I have Arizona getting like 1, 2, 3 wins, and my opinions on how much wins a team get will evolve after Saturdays, basically. I'm going to release a new poll every Monday after every week is concluded, and change my projected records and rankings as I see fit, just adapting it week by week, just because I think it'll be kind of fun. So I think BYU wins this game. BYU is favored by 12.5 points. I think they'll probably win by like 20, safe to say. Nevada versus California is the next one, and I've heard a lot of people say Nevada looks to be a great team just all around, and that they could be New Year's Six Bowl contenders. Jay Norvell had a good year last year for COVID. They were one of the better teams in the Mountain West Conference, and like Nevada, everyone is looking at them thinking they're going to do well, and the FPI favors them by 70%, and I narrowly favor California to win also by 70%. That being said, Justin Wilcox has not really seemed to turn the Golden Bears into actual bears. They're kind of still like the Hasbro logo for those like gummies, like that bear, the not so aggressive bear. This is a pretty bad joke, but I think California will fail to cover the 3.5 point spread. They'll probably win by a field goal, is my thought. And if Nevada wins, it'll be one of these games where California wins, they'll barely win. Nevada wins, they will win in a more dominating fashion. Kind of unsure on this game, but it is an underrated game for sure. And last but not least, we got Louisville versus the Ole Miss Rebels. And Louisville versus Ole Miss, there's not much need to explain here. Louisville is not on the correct trend. I can't believe Ole Miss, is only favored by 10 points here. You got Matt Corral, you have Lane Kiffin. The only thing Ole Miss has to figure out is the defense, and that could be a good reason as to why they're only favored by 10. I think they win probably by 2 scores. Louisville gave Miami some trouble last year. They gave a decent amount of teams some trouble in a certain sense, at least when it came to trying to like completely blow out a team. Louisville's not going to be good this year. Ole Miss will be the far better opponent, but it's game 1. It'll be interesting to see if Ole Miss can indeed live up to the hype, and we could get some kind of information on that in this one game. That's all I have to say in today's video. If you liked it, remember to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can just see every time I post a video and immediately get to it. And comment your thoughts below. What game do you think out of the games I mentioned, or even a game that I missed, is the best non-ranked matchup that is there? Tell me in the comments below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you around.